Okay guys, welcome back. So as we mentioned last time, a couple big things to remember is the foreshadowing of the madness motif in chapter 9 and also the disease motif. So keep that in mind as we come to this next section. Madness plus disease. We're going to see both of those in chapter 10. And we're also going to get Atticus's moral principle and the Mockingbird symbol, both. So finally we're going to get this Mockingbird symbol, which is clearly important because it's related to the title, right? So anytime there's titles, capitalization, things like that, you want to pay attention. Now, in the introduction to chapter 10, we get a bit of a perspective from Scout's view, but we could add Jem as well. And how did they think about their father? So that's going to set up the sort of conflict and also a key point of surprise for Scout and Jem. That's going to come later in this chapter. So I want to pay attention to the introduction of the chapter, just like the end of the previous chapter was important. The introduction of this one sets up a conflict or a view of Atticus. That's important to both of the children, which is going to come into play later in the same chapter. So we can't read everything, but we'll go through the beginning of this chapter and then some things later on in the chapter. So Atticus was feeble. He was nearly 50 when Jem and I asked him why he was so old. He said he got started late, which we felt reflected upon his abilities and manliness. He was much older than the parents of our school contemporaries, and there was nothing Jem or I could say about him when our classmates said, "My father." So, how do the children feel about Atticus? They think he's really old. Why is he really old? Well, he's 50, which is a little bit older than their friend's parents, because he got started late. Okay? But they feel that reflected on his abilities and manliness. So he's not as much as a real man's man kind of father figure because of this, in their view. Jem was football crazy. Atticus was never too tired to play keep away, but when Jem wanted to tackle him, Atticus would say, "I'm too old for that, son." Okay, so when it comes to strong physical contact, like tackling somebody in a football match, Atticus is not as comfortable with that because he is a bit older. Because of that, they kind of look down on him. Our father didn't do anything. He worked in an office, not in a drugstore. Atticus did not drive a dump truck for the county. He was not the sheriff. He did not farm, work in a garage, or do anything that could possibly arouse the admiration of anyone. Okay, so notice that there's a strong hyperbole here, a big exaggeration. And Jem and Scout, they value physical labor. They value physical strength. Okay, so we're seeing a kind of contrast here. Physical, it's going to be versus mental strength. Atticus is a lawyer, right? He uses his brain. Besides that, he wore glasses. He was nearly blind in his left eye and said left eyes were the tribal curse of the Finches. Whenever he wanted to see something well, he turned his head and looked from his right eye. Okay, glasses now, keep in mind. Okay, glasses have to do with vision, right? Either vision correction or vision enhancement. So Atticus has glasses, and they look down on him for that. He did not do the things our schoolmates' fathers did. He never went hunting. He did not play poker or fish or drink or smoke. He sat in the living room and read. So it has to do with intelligence, has to do with study, reading. With these attributes, however, he would not remain as inconspicuous as we wished him to. That year the school buzzed with talk about him defending Tom Robinson, none of which was complimentary. After my bout with Cecil Jacobs, when I committed myself to a policy of cowardice, word got around that Scout Finch wouldn't fight anymore. Her daddy wouldn't let her. This was not entirely correct. I wouldn't fight publicly for Atticus, but the family was private ground. I would fight anyone from a third cousin upwards, tooth and nail. Francis Hancock, for example, knew that. When he gave us our air rifles, Atticus wouldn't teach us to shoot. Uncle Jack instructed us in the rudiments thereof. He said Atticus wasn't interested in guns. Atticus said to Jem one day, "I'd rather you shot at tin cans in the backyard, but I know you'll go after birds. Shoot all the blue jays you want if you can hit them. But remember, it's a sin to kill a mockingbird." All right, you definitely want to know this quote. One of the most important quotes in the book. And of course, it is our title, straight from this sentence, to kill a mockingbird. So this is introducing us to what the mockingbird is a symbol of. What does the mockingbird symbolize? Okay, that's what Atticus says. Like, look, if you're going to go after birds, don't kill mockingbirds with your new air rifles. Why? It's a sin. Okay, it's bringing an issue of morality, of right and wrong. Okay, Atticus is normally not a religious person. This is kind of religious language, well, very religious language, and it has to do with right and wrong. Okay, he's saying it's wrong to kill a mockingbird. So we're going to get this mockingbird symbol in detail here. So you definitely want to take note. Let's just separate that a bit. Okay, because it's very important. Okay, let's see what we get with this mockingbird symbol. What does it actually mean? That was the only time I ever heard Atticus say it was a sin to do something. And I asked Miss Maudie about it. So Atticus never uses this kind of sin language, right? He's using more law language and teaching principles and morality. Usually sin is a religious kind of word. "Your father's right," she said. "Mockingbirds don't do one thing except make music for us to enjoy. They don't eat up people's gardens, don't nest in corn cribs. They don't do one thing but sing their hearts out for us. That's why it's a sin to kill a mockingbird." So why? Okay, they don't do one thing but make music for us to enjoy. So there's your positive element. Okay, so you think positive. Okay, that's a positive. They just make nice music for us. Then they don't, there's your negative, they don't destroy stuff. Okay, they don't eat up people's gardens. They don't make their nests where you grow your corn. They don't do one thing but, here's the positive again, sing their hearts out for us. That's why, there's her point, her explanation. That's why. So you take the negatives and the positive, you put it together, that's why. Okay, So what do we have then? We have positives. They do good for us. How? They sing and bring pleasure to us. So this is a way of saying they act kindly in a way, right? They do good deeds for us. They just sing, okay? And then they don't destroy things. They don't act selfishly. So in a way, in a positive way, what we're saying is they're kind of innocent. Okay? So there's a sense of innocence and purity and goodness about the mockingbird symbol. So that's very important. This is our commentary, both Atticus's view and Miss Maudie's explanation, commentary on this mockingbird symbol. So, mockingbird only does something positive for others. It does not do anything destructive and negative to others. They don't destroy stuff. So what you want to think about is the mockingbird as a symbol, and then who are mockingbirds? Let's make that plural in the story. What characters might represent this kind of mockingbird, an innocent, pure, good person who is doing acts of kindness and helping others, right? They help others. They don't tear others down. So that's going to be very important later on in a number of ways. Okay, so that's the mockingbird symbol. Then, we're going to skip down a bit. There's going to be another incident in this chapter, which is another key symbol. Okay, and that is beginning, well, if you're following on this document, it's beginning on page 50. And that is the mad dog Tim Johnson. Okay, so the next symbol we're going to get into here is Tim Johnson, the mad dog. And we'll just introduce him and then get into that symbol in more detail in the next video. So one Saturday, Jem and I decided to go exploring with our air rifles to see if we could find a rabbit or a squirrel. We had gone about 500 yards beyond the Radley place when I noticed Jem squinting at something down the street. He had turned his head to one side and was looking out of the corners of his eyes. "What you looking at?" "That old dog down yonder," he said. "That's old Tim Johnson, ain't it?" "Yeah." Tim Johnson was the property of Mr. Harry Johnson, who drove the mobile bus and lived on the southern edge of town. Tim was a liver-colored bird dog, the pet of Maycomb. "What's he doing?" "I don't know, Scout. We better go home." "Ah, Jem, it's February." "I don't care. I'm going to tell Cal." We raced home and ran to the kitchen. "Cal," said Jem, "can you come down the sidewalk a minute?" "What for, Jem? I can't come down the sidewalk every time you want me." "There's something wrong with an old dog down yonder," Calpurnia sighed. "I can't wrap up any dog's foot now. There's some gauze in the bathroom. Go get it yourself." All right. Calpurnia thinks the dog got hurt, but Jem shook his head. "He's sick, Cal. Something's wrong with him. And we'll see what's wrong with him in a moment. And Scout says it's February because it wouldn't normally happen in February.